Time and additional evidence may force us to confront the fact that Gavin Newsom is a psychotic serial killer who is guilty beyond the shadow of a doubt. I'm just saying we are not at that point right now. Yet.
California's smooth-haired poster boy might not be as flawless as his shiny gel implies. Stu Burguiere isn't just showing receipts. He's setting them ablaze while Gavin Newsom scrambles with a fire extinguisher, exposing political messes and shocking flashbacks you wouldn't believe. This isn't just a critique, it's a roast with extra spice. And once Stu dives into Newsom's history, your view of California's top hair model will change.
Gavin Newsom suddenly vulnerable to being recalled. Started out as it looked like Gavin Newsom was going to kind of cruise to a victory here and avoid the recall, but COVID might be changing things a little bit.
Well, part of the reason I wrote the column was I am having a bit of a change of heart, and part of it is because last time I was on Glenn Beck's show with you, Glenn asked me, and I said that I didn't think that the recall was going to win, and I don't think that that's necessarily my position today. To be clear, I'm not betting that Gavin Newsom is going to lose. That would be just too good. The world doesn't seem to work that way.
If you're enjoying this, make sure to subscribe to the channel. It helps way more than you realize. Gavin Newsom has reinvented his image so many times he makes the iPhone look stable. California's governor doesn't just update his look, he upgrades it every time someone sneezes in Sacramento. And now we're apparently on Gavin Newsom 10.0, meaning we've survived at least 9 earlier versions, glitchier than Windows.
Is the media handling this, though? I know that, like, the California media can be very powerful. They don't... You would think they'd be protecting Gavin Newsom at all costs here.
Well, a large part of the column that I wrote for Mediaite is about how I predict the media will handle this situation. Stu, one of the more frustrating elements of this circumstance to me, someone who loathes Gavin Newsom, my young children call him Governor Poosum, largely because of the COVID restrictions that have greatly destroyed their lives over the last 18 months for, in my opinion, no reason for young, healthy children.
First, there was up-and-coming Gavin, remember him, the shining hope of the Democrats. With hair glossier than an oil slick and a smile that could stop a deer in its tracks. He was the party's new face, the kind of guy who posed for campaign pictures like he was auditioning for the cover of a romance novel called Laws of Love.
Police have linked several deadly shootings in Stockton and Oakland, California to a potential serial killer. So far, 7 shootings, 6 of them fatal, have been attributed to the potential murderer. Because this is California, I know what you're thinking. And yes, I understand why you would think it. It makes a lot of sense, obviously. But we need to deal with facts here. We have no evidence at this time that links Gavin Newsom to these murders.
John F. Kennedy 2.0, but got a chameleon whose only skill was morphing into whichever persona earned the loudest cheers that week. And then, in a true soap opera twist, we met Playboy Gavin. Not just the usual political scandal of a few missed parking tickets, but a whole new level of headline-grabbing drama.
Some developing news in relation to the serial killings in California going on. An arrest has been made. However, it's very troubling. Here we have a sitting governor trying to win another term, and he's yet to be officially cleared of these killings. No statement, nothing. No, radio silence completely, and still no one coming forward to defend Gavin Newsom and say that he's innocent. Why? And then out of nowhere, a black man is arrested? I've never been a big believer of the systemic racism claims, but this is highly suspicious.
This wasn't just any scandal, it was the kind that could ruin holiday dinners forever. Sleeping with his best friend's wife. Yes, nothing says trustworthy leader like borrowing your buddy's car and then his spouse. Forget bad policies. This alone should have exiled him to a cave with Wi-Fi weak enough to stop him from tweeting. But Gavin wasn't done anti-Trump. Gavin, the version whose entire personality boiled down to I don't like Donald Trump. Forget climate issues, crime, or the fact that California had more tent cities than an outdoor concert. Newsom acted like a superhero simply by shaking his fist at Trump, while the state's problems piled up like dirty laundry. Then came Daymaster Gavin, the version who treated public health as a matter of appearances rather than expertise, sidelining top infectious disease specialists in favor of someone who looked better on a diversity checklist. Perfect timing. Right before a global pandemic.
Your friends are saying it. I know it makes perfect sense, but with all that said, we cannot definitively attach Gavin Newsom to these crime scenes. Yet, I mean, we should also note that he's not officially been cleared of these crimes in any way, shape, or form. I repeat, I have not heard one person say that Gavin Newsom didn't do these terrible things. And yeah, that is weird, considering he's the governor and a very famous public figure. You'd think someone would step up and say he didn't do this, but so far, no.
Imagine firing your pilot mid-flight just to get someone with better Instagram looks. That's the kind of leadership California got. Not public safety, but a marketing brochure. Then came co-dictator Gavin, the man who turned emergency orders into a lifestyle brand, shutting down cities, closing businesses, and telling everyone to mask up while dining at French Laundry with lobbyists. Enter Versailles Gavin, strutting through the restaurant like Marie Antoinette with better hair gel. The optics so terrible it looked like his PR team worked for the opposition. Nothing says man of the people like a $350 meal while constituents can't visit dying relatives in hospitals. And if irony could generate power, California's grid would have been saved right then. And
famous serial killers of all time. I mean, what do they all have in common? Jeffrey Dahmer, Ted Bundy, the BTK killer, Dennis Rader, John Wayne Gacy, just to name a few. There's a pattern here, guys, a distinctly white pattern. White, middle-aged, ordinary-looking dudes. That's who's out there committing all the serial killings, not black people. Now take a look at these two pictures side by side. Given what we know about serial killers, who seems like they might be guilty of all of these crimes? We don't have all the evidence.
Came Debate Club Gavin, who thought he could take on Ron DeSantis, strutting onto the stage full of confidence, only to be verbally slammed so hard that California probably should have requested federal disaster aid. He went in thinking he was Muhammad Ali and came out looking like a substitute teacher who wandered into the wrong classroom. After that performance, Debate Club Gavin quietly disappeared, leaving voters wondering why they keep electing a man who folds faster than a lawn chair in a hurricane. When critics asked about a presidential run, he shifted into party line Gavin, praising Joe Biden for anything, even tripping over a sandcastle as a bold progressive move. That loyalty didn't last long. Soon came centrist Gavin, suddenly opposing day overreach and criticizing men and women's sports, only to flip again by breakfast into manosphere podcaster Gavin, briefly channeling a Joe Rogan light.
Is currently running for re-election, and when there is such a serious charge on the table, it can be difficult to understand what you're supposed to do as a voter. If you're in California and you want to take the risk of having a potential but not confirmed serial killer in office, that's definitely something you can do. That option is available to you. Just remember, it's a lot harder to recall and imprison someone once they're voted into office.
Trying to play the cool dad who gets it. Spoiler, he didn't, and Californians weren't buying it either. Enter his newest version, social media troll Gavin, the man who once acted presidential, now cosplaying as Donald Trump's Twitter account, sending memes like an intern who just discovered Photoshop and posting AI-generated images of Tucker Carlson and Kid Rock, praying for him as if anyone actually believes. Kid Rock has a prayer left. It's not clever, it's not strategy, it's desperation hiding behind memes, so much so that even the White House responded with one, proving that serious politics now runs on recycled pop culture screenshots. Forget legislation, forget policy, the future of democracy seems like an endless meme battle. Who needs debates when GIFs will do? And that's the thing about Newsom. He doesn't just enter politics. He struts in like cameras are always rolling, less a public servant and more a GQ model auditioning to play president in a Netflix drama nobody asked for.
California, you have to realize where you stand right now. It can't be ruled out that you have a serial killer on your hands and on the ballot, and maybe a racist serial killer at that. Ask yourself one question, voters of California. Can you risk?
The man treats the governor's office like a never-ending photo shoot, and half the time you can't tell if he's announcing policy or promoting overpriced hair gel made from unicorn tears. That's what makes Stu's takedown so satisfying. Beneath the hair, the smile, and Hollywood-level lighting, Gavin's past looks less like a presidential resume and more like an abandoned soap opera script, full of failed businesses, questionable friendships, and enough family drama to fill a Bravo reality series. A mix of asterisk, Keeping Up with the Kardashians asterisk, and C-SPAN. He assumed no one would notice because he was too busy smirking at the mirror. And then came the business genius phase, when he ran fancy wine bars and restaurants, strutting like a mogul while his empire consisted of overpriced spots where politicians could overpay for Merlot while pretending to be RELATABLE.
For me, but not for thee. You don't get to have your Thanksgiving, but they surely will. You don't get to have your group dinners out, but they surely do. You don't get to get your hair done, but they do. You don't get to send your kids to school, but don't worry, they've got tutors. Today, New York City has announced that as of Thursday, all schools for all kids are closed. 300,000 kids, already screwed up enough for having to live in New York City, now also can't go to school because the positive test rate had risen above.
Stu points out that Gavin's ventures were far from Rockefeller-level business. It was more like seeing how many salads he could mark up before anyone noticed. Spoiler, they noticed. And when those ventures stumbled, instead of showing humility, Gavin doubled down on the I was meant to lead vibe, looking at a failed wine bar and thinking, clearly, the next step is running California, because nothing screams ready for government like losing money selling Cabernet to your friends. Stu brilliantly ties it all together, showing Gavin not as a leader, but as someone who keeps failing upward, like the kid who sets off the fire alarm in high school and somehow gets elected class president because he smiled while doing it failure after failure, wrapped in a designer suit, topped with that signature smirk. Add his tangled family web of political and business ties, which reads more like Shakespeare than self-made ambition, and the I'm just like you act falls flat, a routine Stu mercilessly destroys because nobody's buying it.
Do a show entitled The California Invasion, and we can make it like all about the border, right? Where the people are crossing the border into California and disrupting those communities. We could talk about the invasion of the Soros DAs. We could talk about the invasion into California of so many homeless people and crime and all of the problems that are facing California. But no, that's not what we're doing today. We're doing the opposite. We're talking about how California is attempting to invade the rest of the country. I'm sick of it. Are you sick of it?
The man wears $5,000 suits and vacation homes like fashion accessories. And when Gavin claims he relates to the little guy, it's as believable as Elon Musk claiming he understands minimum wage. Then come the scandals. Stu reminds everyone that Gavin's personal life has enough twists to make daytime TV jealous, from headline grabbing, relationship drama, and eyebrow-raising affairs to a reputation more suited to a Hollywood gossip column than a trusted leader. Add failed businesses and tangled family ties, and the picture looks less like a governor and more like a walking parody of ambition. Yet he still poses as if auditioning for the Oval Office. The irony. Gavin Newsom has been shaping his image for decades, polishing it like a top-tier sports car.
Just over a week away, the government is telling you that you can't go see your friends and loved ones. But you know who can do that? Gavin Newsom, of course, governor of California. You see, he's better than you. He gets to go out with his friends, unless, of course, he gets caught. And then we have an addition of Newsom.
Every time Stu peels back another layer, that polished image starts looking more like a lemon from a used lot. The shine is there, sure, but the engine has been rattling from day one. And the best part, Gavin thinks no one can hear it over his speeches, but Stu hears it loud and clear, cranking up the sarcasm like a mechanic with nothing to lose. By the time he's finished, Newsom looks less like a future president and more like a contestant on The Apprentice, who got fired but refused to leave. Stu makes it obvious this isn't about politics. It's about a man auditioning for a role he was never fit to play, and California is stuck watching the entire performance.